Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there on four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Rakat the Yahweh, Rakat the Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Rakat them. So, as you can tell here, just what, this ain't conspiracy theory, but rather this is conspiracy fact. Here's another one. U.S.-backed SDF, which is pretty much ISIS, militants caught smuggling Daesh women in northwest Syria. S-O-H-R, Daesh, which is another term for ISIS. So they all work together. Kurdish-led militants from the so-called Syrian Democratic Forces have reportedly been caught smuggling women with affiliation to the Daesh Takfiri terrorist group in Syria's northwestern province of Aleppo. The so-called Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported that 2 SDF members were caught at a checkpoint in the city of Manbij, located about 70 kilometers northeast of the provincial capital of Aleppo, which, while attempting to smuggle out 5 female members of the terrorist outfit. The British-based monitor group further noted that the SDF forces rounded up 2 fellow militants as they were smuggling Daesh women in exchange for $10,000 US each. The women were smuggled out of Al-Hal refugee camp, which lies on the southern outskirts of the town of Al-Hal and close to the Syria-Iraq border, said the observatory, adding that it is not the first time such smuggling attempts have taken place in the camp. Al-Hal camp is largely inhabited by Daesh militants and their family members, particularly after the Takfiri terrorists were driven out their last basation in eastern Syria, And just like ICE, you have ISIS over here. Over the past few months, several rallies have held in northern and eastern Syria in protest against the SDF practices, calling for their expulsion from the regions. Yeah, because they're not working with the Syrian government. These are terrorists, and they harbor terrorists to protect the terrorists. They're pretty much Mossad. With protesters chanting slogans against the SDF occupation, which has led to chaos, kidnapping, killing, and monopoly of Syria's oil, which is why they're there, is to steal the oil and resources to pretty much, starve out Assad, And that's just it, though. And then they seize that shipment going to Damascus. The Syrian Foreign Ministry said in letters addressed to the UN Secretary General and the head of the Security Council on May 13 that the SDF should not be compelled to respect the world's body resolution that asserts Syria's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. The ministry added that the SDF, by committing criminal acts, intends to subjugate Syrian citizens who are demanding their rights and calling for the Syrian government's resumption of carrying out its duties in the eastern part of the crisis-hit Arab country. But they can't because, of course, you got the U.S. terrorists protecting them. So, the Syrian government can't go in there. I can't wait till fucking Magog, Russia, starts destroying this piece of shit America. The actions of the SDF and their shameful alliance with Syria's enemies prove without a doubt their criminal and terrorism nature, and that they do not express the Syrian people, the Syrian Foreign Ministry said in the letters. It also stressed that the massacres committed by the SDF will only bring them disgrace and the contempt of the Syrian people. The SDF illegally transports crude oil from Syria's eastern province of Dar al-Zar to neighboring Hasaka province in Syria's northeast, A move that has angered the people. Yeah, because they're stealing the resources, which is what Esau has always done. And, of course, like everything else, U.S.-backed SDF militants have reportedly killed 6 civilians and injured 4 others in Syria's eastern province of Dal al-Zar. The U.S. has been providing the SDF, an alliance of Kurdish alliance with arms and militants, calling them a key partner in the purported fight against the Daesh terrorist group, which is a lie, because you know their war on terror means that they supply terror groups. Many observers, however, see the support in the context of Washington's plans to carve out a foothold in the Arab country. Such support has also angered Washington's NATO ally Turkey, which views militants of the People's Protection Units, YPG, the backbone of SDF, as a terrorist organization tied to the homegrown Kurdistan Workers' Party. The PKK has been waging a destructive war inside Turkey for decades. Yeah, and that even goes back to the old Iraq war. Speaking of which, here's another one. Iraqi forces Hashad al-Shabi fighters purge villages north of Baghdad of Daesh. So, who's getting the terrorists out? The Iraqi government. So, a little video here. Iraqi government forces are seen in the area north of the capital Baghdad on July 21st, 2019, during the second phase of the Will of the Victory operation against the remnants of the Daesh Takfiri terrorist group. So, pretty much, though, you know, Iraq is now reclaiming their country from these terrorist groups that the United States has put in there. Because that's all that the United States has ever done, is bring terrorism all around the world. Because that's the whole purpose of the Red Hebrew Edomite, is to bring terror around the world. Keep in mind, though, that the terror really is caused by the Most High. And that is that pretty much, though, because all were partakers in the downfall of Yasha, so therefore all are getting judged. That's why you're seeing all this. That's why you see the U.S. and Syria and Iraq and all these places. Because, of course, they were partakers in us being brought down, so now they're being brought down to a low. The same devil that they made a deal with now is, you know, doing the same thing to them in the same way it was done to us. Maybe, well, not worse, but close enough. Iraqi army troops, supported by allied fighters from popular mobilization units, have successfully purged out more than a dozen villages north of the capital of Baghdad of Daesh Takfiri terrorists. So, pretty much, though, again, you know, you ain't going to hear about this on the mainstream. Also on Sunday, pro-government Iraqi forces could wipe Daesh Takfiri terrorists off Basant and Awad and Hara districts west of Tamara. Second in command of the Joint Operations Command, Lieutenant General Abdul Amir Rashid Yarallah, said in a statement on Saturday that Iraqi military forces had launched the second phase of a major operation to hunt down the remnants of the Daesh terror group north of Baghdad and areas nearby. So, who's really fighting the war on terror? It ain't the United States. The United States is protecting them and giving them armaments. The statement noted that the offensive aims to beef up security and stability in the area north of Baghdad and surrounding areas in the provinces of Dar Salahuddin and Anbar, which Anbar is the main area that borders Syria and, of course, Jordan. It said that the units from the Baghdad Operations Command operations from Dirna, Samana, and Anbar, the Federal Police Command Rapid Response Teams, voluntary Hashad al-Shabi fighters, and the Special Forces Regiment of the Operations Department of the Chief of Staff of the Army, as well as a special task force of the Directive of Military Intelligence, were participating in the offensive. So yeah, pretty much Iraq launches new operation against Daesh toward Syria border, which is what I just said about the Anbar province. And there's a follow-up to the other story. U.S. Embassy in Iraq does not pursue diplomacy, and it looks like we got a video for this.
Iran. A report has surfaced about the Saudi Crown Prince's plan to target Saudi students abroad. A Saudi activist says the plan, ordered by Mohammed bin Salman, follows an increase in the number of students seeking asylum, especially in Canada. Al-Watan. Kurdish sources say Turkey has illegally seized a large number of ancient artifacts from northern Syria. The sources added that Ankara reportedly destroyed the Jingiris historical site and built a military base in its stead. Al-Akhbar. Israeli investor Moti Kahana has confirmed that he has been authorized to drill oil from the Kurdish-held areas in northern Syria. Kahana noted that he reached an agreement with Ilham Ahmad, a senior official from the so-called Syrian Democratic Forces. According to the deal, the Syrian Democratic Forces has asked the investor to ramp up drilling from 125,000 to 400,000 barrels per day. The Israeli investor will purchase the oil for $22 to $35 per barrel. The Syrian Democratic Forces will collect an annual revenue of $3 billion from oil sales. An Iraqi official says the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad does not pursue diplomacy, but aims to continue Iraq's occupation by Washington. He added that the U.S. gives no details about its mission and houses a large number of troops in its embassy.
And this, of course, the big ticker, about the UK vessel that pretty much was doing dangerous maneuvers, had hit a fishing boat in Iran, and so they were detained because of the fact that that was a dangerous maneuver, man. That's like a hit and run, but of course, because it's quote-unquote British, but you come to find out that the people in there ain't even British at all. It just has a UK flag, but of course, like everything else, though, just trying to further escalate the war. So here's some more on this follow-up to this.
With me, Ken and Peter. Iranian armed forces confiscation of that British vessel in the Persian Gulf has received high praise by Iranian officials and people, with some speaking of Iran's military might and others praising the move as timely and appropriate. Let's cross over and look at a report from Press TV's Yusuf Jalali.
The Persian Gulf waters get troubled as tensions rise in the world's most strategic oil transit route. On Friday, Iran's Revolution Guards Corps announced that it has seized a British oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz for violating international naval regulations. The IRGC says the oil tanker, named Stena Impero, has ignored warnings and turned off its tracker while diverting from the shipping route. The owner of Stena Impero says the vessel was bound for Saudi Arabia. The British government has warned Iran of consequences. Earlier this month, Britain's Royal Marines seized an Iranian supertanker in the Gibraltar Strait for suspected transit of crude to Syria in violation of the EU's sanctions against the Arab country, something which Iran branded as piracy. Here in the streets of Tehran, people echo Iran's stance.
As our leader has said, the era of hit and run is over. I believe the IRGC displayed its might by impounding the British ship.
It's Britain's fault. They captured our ship on no reasonable grounds, and they expect Iran to let go of their vessel, which has violated international regulations.
While the UK calls Iran's seizure of its tanker a tit-for-tat retaliation, Iran says it comes as part of its efforts to guarantee the security of its waters.
The IRGC's Navy is responsible for ensuring the security of the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. They couldn't have turned a blind eye to the violation committed by the British ship.
Observers view the UK-Iranian standoff as a fabricated crisis, orchestrated by the US to disrupt the nuclear talks between Tehran and the EU bloc.
The US unilaterally left the nuclear deal, and as a result it has been pushed into isolation. Trump is angry because the EU refused to leave the deal. That's why the US is trying to torpedo the ongoing talks between Iran and the European parties to the nuclear deal by trying to sow animosity between the two sides.
Trump said he would talk with the UK about Iran's seizure of its tanker, something which is put by observers further highlights US's destructive role in the Iran-EU ties. Last week, Trump claimed that an American vessel in the Persian Gulf zapped an Iranian drone, something which turned out to be a hollow claim after Iran's IRGC released the footage of the mentioned UAV's successful surveillance mission. As tensions flare in the world's most strategic oil transit route, Iran has advised foreign actors in the Persian Gulf to avoid any provocative steps and not trouble the waters of the Persian Gulf. Meanwhile, Tehran stresses that it maintains full control over its territorial waters and would respond with absolute power to any hostile move. Yusuf Jalali, Press TV, Tehran.
And you know as well as I do that things have escalated since this, but this is the latest follow-up to that, but there's more. And what was it Apostle Tahar said many years ago on the streets, because we recently dug up the video that where would you see most of this fighting in the Valley of Yehoshaphat? Right there in Saudi Arabia. Check this one out.
The United States has authorized the deployment of American military personnel and resources to Saudi Arabia. The Pentagon has said the decision was made by Acting Defense Secretary and added that the move would provide what it called an additional deterrent in the face of emergent and credible threats. The decision comes after Saudi Arabia's King Salman approved hosting American forces in the kingdom. The Saudi Defense Ministry official said the move is aimed at increasing joint cooperation in defense of regional security and stability and to preserve its peace. For more on that, we're joined by Mr. Lawrence Davidson, commentator and former lecturer at Westchester University. Thank you very much for joining us once again, Mr. Davidson. And now, what do you make of this recent move that is quite a strategic event? It is interesting to know that Saudi Arabia is now also hosting U.S. forces.
I don't think it's as strategic as everybody thinks. First of all, 500 troops is quite token. It's not a very, sizable deployment. They're going
you can best believe it's a lot more than that.
They're going to set up anti-missile defense unit for that airport and its surrounding areas. Those anti-missile defense units don't have a very high record of success. 50% success rate, if that. And so I think that it's, it's just another step in Trump's process of alleged intimidation. And perhaps maybe he's trying to intimidate the Congress as much as he's trying to intimidate Iran. I don't think that this should be very intimidating towards Iran. I mean, it's really just a token kind of sentiment. If there's missiles coming in towards that airfield from the south, from Yemen, it might provide a modicum of defense. And it's also a slap in the face of the Congress because they're very much desirous of breaking this, this alliance between Trump and Saudi Arabia. Who's he talking to? He's probably talking to the Congress as much as to Iran.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence Davison, commentator and former lecturer at Westchester University.
And that's just it, though, is people think that's small now, but the fact that you're seeing development, and don't forget, WWE hosts at least 2 events every year in Saudi Arabia. Why do you think that is? Well, you already know the Saudi royal family is Amalek, and you already know that, yes, a lot of Amalekites do live down there. But also because that's the main hub of the United States to launch its terrorist groups has always been Saudi Arabia. As I always say, meanwhile, back in Syria, weapons, ammo, Israeli-made vehicles left by terrorists found in Quanta countryside. So here's a lot of the Israeli, which you know is Amalek. Sana, Syrian Arab News Agency reporter, said the authorities concerned on Sunday found an amount of weapons, ammunition, medicines, Western-made bases of monitoring devices, and Israeli-made vehicles left behind by the terrorists in Quanta countryside. So you can see all this seismic there. Transport Ministry, a terrorist attack on a town for shipping phosphate in the eastern part of Homs. A train for shipping phosphate was targeted in a sabotage terrorist attack on Sunday in the eastern countryside of Homs province, causing it to derail as flames broke out in the locomotive, where the train crew suffered varying injuries. Ministry of Transport said in a statement that terrorists sneaked into the location of the railway between Al-Fasha and Al-Basra areas and planted an explosive device on the railway direction that is heading to phosphate mines in Kain's area in the eastern part of Homs province. The ministry added that the technical workshops started works of repairing the damaged railway as to resume transport work as soon as possible. So, just pretty much destroying their infrastructure. Yeah. So, there you go. Pure sabotage. Well, that's just it. That's why, every time you heard about, they're doing airstrikes on, ISIS targets, the U.S. military strikes against them, they're always destroying the infrastructure of Syria. However, when Russia does it, they actually are helping the Syrian government to regain control of the country. So there's a big, huge difference as to who's fighting the war on terror and who isn't. As if we, the elect, don't realize the differences. Which leads me to Isaiah chapter 19. As you can see, though, because modern-day Egypt is America. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Most High rideth up a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. That is, when Most High and the angels destroy this place, as well as them nuclear weapons as well, which is the angels. Because, you just got to look at it, as that large army, which are them missiles, 200 million nuclear missiles. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. That's why you're hearing all the time about whistleblowers and truthers out there, which is these Edomites telling on each other. And they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And you're seeing it all the time, man. People ain't coming together on the 4th of July, man. No, they detest this fucking government. They're really detesting ICE, which is still ISIS. Because ISIS is the same terrorism, it's just that one's in the Middle East and the other one's over here. And as you know, Ephraim represents the northern kingdom, so the fortress shall cease from Ephraim in the day, as well as the kingdom from Syria and Damascus. All happening now. And the spirit of Egypt shall fall in the midst thereof. People just don't have that good old American spirit anymore. People don't want to, sing God bless America, stand by her and guide her. They just not feeling it anymore. Oh, there's some left, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that as a majority, no, man, they hate this fucking place. They don't feel it anymore. And they certainly ain't getting together on Memorial Day or on bullshit 4th of July. So they know that this is all bullshit. And I will destroy the counsel thereof. And they shall seek to the idols, those that'll still go to goddamn church, even though they ain't giving you any hope. They're giving you a false hope. But yet, a lot of people, man, they know that it just ain't there. Them churches are nothing but whorehouses. And to the charmers, which is what I was saying before, they'll go to everybody else, they'll go to counselors. Oh, yeah, you should go to counseling. Yeah, okay, how are you going to save yourself from the day of destruction? You're not. You fucking loser. And to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. They'll fucking get on them goddamn medications. Oh, yeah, that's going to save me from nuclear destruction. Sure, go ahead and prescribe that to me, right? Only a fucking retard would fucking take any counsel from T-Men. You have to be fucking retarded to actually believe in anything that this devil has to say. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord. Isn't Donald J. Trump like a cruel lord? But nah, it goes deeper than Trump, because he just wears the fucking clown suit. Nah, man, it's greater than that. Rothschild, Jacob Rothschild. But you don't see him, you only see Trump. And a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Most High of hosts. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. Yeah, man, that famine's starting to go out, man. Places are dried up. What, California's supposed to have been in a drought now for over 5 or 6 years, man. It ain't getting better. It's more than just a dry season, man. You can just see it, man. And you're just seeing it happen everywhere while other places are getting flooded. This fucking place is going down. And they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up, and the reeds and flags shall wither. Yeah, man. And you can see that happening, man. Crops didn't get planted. The paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, that everything sown by brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. And you're seeing it. The fishers also shall mourn, and all they that cast angle into the brooks shall lament, and they that spread nets upon the waters shall languish. Yeah, man. Plus you got the goddamn Fukushima going on, radiating everything, so even ocean fishing. Man, that just ain't it anymore, man. And fuck, man, so much goddamn GMOs and fucking poisons anyways. Just nothing's really good anymore. Moreover, they that work in the fine flax and they that weave networks shall be confounded. This place, America, is being confounded. And, if you be part of the elect, yeah, you'll go through some judgment, but at the same time, you'll be refined at the end. You just got to endure this last little tail end of it. Fuck, man, we've been here for so fucking long, though. May as well just go ahead and endure this last tail end of it. Don't puss out. Don't take the mark of the beast, the RFID implant. And, hey, man, fuck the world. Fuck everyone, man. You just got to make sure that you're doing right, that Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, finds mercy upon you, because the rest of the world is fucked. America is fucked. That was an old sign that Apostle Tahar used to hold up, man. And it's true. America is fucked. For that, I want to say Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Kakadash, Wa Abba Babal. Rakatham to the hopeful elect.